Hi, welcome. I'm Scott.
I'm Sharla.
And this is the Humanity, Human Shaped Learning podcast, video podcast. And oh my gosh, where is our giant logo?
Oh.
Our giant tie logo.
It is in a better place.
It's in a better
without us.
It's in a better place without us. We told you, I think, in one of our previous episodes that we were going to go on the road some. So this episode and a few that are going to be here in a row, we're going to be here in the lovely Black Hills. We're actually in Spearfish Canyon.
At Scott's
at my
beautiful place.
At my house, yeah. So it's kind of nice, and so we'll be here for a few episodes.
And you can see the colors are changing.
That's right.
All around us.
That's
here in
right.
the canyon.
I don't know. By the time you see this, the colors may have already changed. You may be in solid white winter at some point. So maybe this will be a nice reminder of how lovely autumn in the Black Hills is. You know. Just pretty neat.
Absolutely. I know I am just going to sit here and enjoy it all day.
Me
long
too.
as we get to do this.
You know, occasionally we're probably going to hear some log trucks because we are real close to the highway, and so some log trucks, big log trucks come by, and they sometimes use their Jake brakes.
Oh, okay.
So that
and squirrels and birds.
Yes, squirrels, but those squirrels are more relaxing.
Yeah,
they're
true.
little chatter.
True.
That's kind of nice. So
yeah.
Anyway, I think this first this episode, which I believe is episode number 5.
Yes.
I believe this is your episode.
It is.
So what are we going to talk about?
Well, we're going to move back into that bucket of uniqueness.
Uniqueness.
So we've talked a couple times now about uniqueness and the importance of valuing each individual's uniqueness. And so I was thinking about if we were to look at that again from another angle, what might be a good angle to look at?
Right.
And I decided maybe one that we need to look at is valuing our own.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because I mean, we talk a lot about, being conscientious about valuing somebody else's uniqueness, but a lot of times the weird stuff about me I don't particularly like.
I have almost no problem valuing your weirdness.
Oh, thanks.
But I have a hard time valuing my own.
Yeah.
Many of us, I think, would say that's a lifelong struggle. And when we're going to try to be in that healthy place, especially when we're working with children or whatever your job is, if you're in a profession where you're spending a lot of time with other people, one of the best things we can do is to be in a good, healthy place ourselves, to be able to do that better.
Yeah, sometimes I think we labor under this idea that we can do what's best for other people when we're not actually doing what's best, practicing what's best for us. And I think it really has to start there. And that's not a selfish thing. And we talk about that when we talk about self-help, which will be a different episode. But, valuing and appreciating and loving yourself is a key piece of valuing and appreciating and loving the uniqueness in other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always think about students I've had over the years, and some of my favorite memories I guess I shouldn't have favorite students, should I?
It's okay.
But okay, I'm letting that out. I did have some. One of my favorite things were the quirky things about them, the things that made them so unique.
Yeah.
And so today what I thought we'd maybe focus on is self-acceptance.
That's great.
A little different than like self-esteem or self-identity. So we'll get into that in a minute. But if you want to think about where you're at in that, where are you at in this ability to accept yourself for who you are?
I think for most people, and for myself, probably for most people, there are certain things that I am really great about accepting in myself. And then there's probably like another list I'm not so great about accepting those things. So I think maybe I can use the things that I value in myself to help me value the things that I probably value a little less. Maybe they're part of the same whole package.
Constant process.
That's right.
Constant process.
That's right.
So I found a poem, and it's actually a poem we've used a lot over the years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For our third thing today, I chose the poem Love After Love. And we'll take a little time to read through it. And, in this lens of self-acceptance, it really had some new meaning for me.
Yeah.
So
because we've done this with teachers and in
Yes.
retreat a lot, but this is a different angle on it.
It is, yeah.
That's great. That's terrific.
So let's go ahead and take a look at this poem.
We'll pull this up on the screen for you.
Love after love. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life." Derek Walcott.
Wow.
I find this to be just a powerful poem in general. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But when you think about in that first stanza where it talks about meeting yourself at your own door, and that you'll smile at the other's welcome.
Yeah.
How many of us are able to do that? When you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror, do you smile at your own welcome? Do you look in the mirror and think, "I'm thankful for who I am"?
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of stuff about me that maybe I want to work on.
Yeah.
But I'm okay,
Self-image, and we're talking about both inner and outer, I think here, but even especially the outer self-image. I know, and maybe at times have been both types of people. When you're walking downtown and there's like these big plate glass windows along the side. Okay, I've been the guy who checks out what he looks like, okay, and says, "Hey, do I have like a good swagger going on? Is it a good hair day? Is it a bad hair? Is it a good beard day? Is it a bad
Did
beard
I
day?
remember my beard balm?
Did I remember the beard balm? Okay, I've been that guy, okay. I've also been and known folks who just absolutely avert their eyes so they do not see themselves. They don't want to accidentally see themselves when they weren't expecting it, and there's a sadness in that. There's a sadness in that, and I understand it, because like I said, I've been there. I've got external body issue things about my own image, but it's tough when that takes over a big part of your life.
Yeah. I find for myself personally that as I've gotten older, I'm a little more accepting of myself when it's just me. I still do struggle a bit when I'm around certain people who I know have a judgment of me.
Yeah.
And it's maybe lifelong, those maybe family members or really long time acquaintances or friends that when you see them, they've known you your whole life, so they're looking you over and seeing where you're at right now.
Right.
And that I find that challenging. I find that to be harder. When I get up in the morning, it's my bedhead and my whatever else going on. That's not so hard for me. But sometimes when I'm around other people, or when we're on like a video, that's hard.
Oh, you mean like we're doing right now?
Right now.
Like right now. It's okay. I do all the editing, so I make myself look awesome.
Do a little bit of that for me too. So the other thing then that I thought we could take a look at today is I found this great article. And let me just pull it up real quick on the screen here. So with that,
Are we done with that?
oh, I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe we are.
Or did you want to say some more?
Oh, I had, yeah, there's like so much, like just near the end. See, this is why this is not scripted. This is an actual conversation. She wants to move on, and I'm like, let's talk about the
more.
Love After Love poem a little longer.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's do.
Anyway,
I
that's
did
part of my
invite you.
image. Part of my image is being masculine, but being able to talk about poetry.
Okay.
You know, that's part of my...
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, here's the deal. We talked a lot about external, but I think this is also about internal, you know, about those idiosyncrasies
Yes.
about ourselves. And so anyway, they're near the end. And this is all I really wanted to say is just, it says, take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes, peel your own image from the mirror, sit and feast on your life. I think it's about actual photographs, but it's also about those idiosyncrasies, those things about me that I run into, you know, whether they're like a note that I wrote years and years ago, that was really, you know, when I first met my wife and I wrote her a poem and it's like super cheesy and it's like I'm embarrassed but to get to a place where these little strange things about yourself you can value, you can see the value in, and in some cases, I mean, I know that I'm not the same person that I used to be. I mean, there are things that I look at my perspective from years ago and I think, wow, I'm sure glad I don't see things that way anymore. But to be able to do that and not despise that young man who was kind of misguided or maybe, you know, didn't see real clearly. And to know maybe I still don't see real clearly. Maybe in another 20 years, if I'm still kicking, I would be tempted to see myself now and think that. But I'm going to practice this, being able to love and appreciate that person I have been, because those qualities are still with me, I guess.
Absolutely.
Maybe I've figured out how to deal with them better. You know what my quality is? I realized this the other day, and I know that you know this, and my wife knows this, my family knows this. Too much information. TMI. I run off at the mouth if you didn't notice. And I'm like, I gotta let everybody know exactly what's happening. If I need to go use the restroom, I don't just get up and go. I say, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. And it's like everybody needs to know that. Why does everybody need to know that? And sometimes I just speak things, and I know that that's something that I have always done.
You know what, though? That's something that we all love about you, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
I feel better about it now.
It's better to know that you're going to the bathroom than stomping off mad.
Yeah, because you could.
Right.
I think that's what's going on in my head. I'm thinking if I just stand up and leave right now, they're going to think that something that they said, that she said was, or somebody said was really made me upset. And I want everyone to know, no, it's just my 56-year-old bladder. That's all it is.
It's all about the other person taking care of us.
That's right.
Always. I'm really glad you brought that up. You know, that would have been a shame to leave that poem at the outside part, the outer part about how we see ourselves from the outside, and not go to that deeper place of how we see ourselves on the inside,
right,
and the beauty that's there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. There aren't very many people that I've met and spent time with that I didn't just find something pretty cool about who they are.
It gets richer and richer.
Yeah.
You know?
It does. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can go on now.
Okay.
Article.
So there's an article that I found that I was really excited about, and I spent actually quite a bit of time with it. And probably one of the reasons that I tend to spend a lot of time with things like this is because it is something that's sort of personal to me. I mean, it's an issue that I think I have spent a lot of time on throughout my life. So this article is called "What is Self-Acceptance?" and it actually has some exercises and things that you can, you know, spend time with if you wanted to. It's a long article. I think it's like 31 pages or something.
Wow.
And so feel free to dig through it. There's a
That's
lot
why
of
you
good
wanted to
stuff.
move on, because you got so much to cover in this article.
That's right.
That's right.
But
I'm
I'm
figuring
not
it
going
out
to cover
now.
it all.
Oh, okay.
No, just a little bit of it.
But then we're going to give you the link
Yes.
so you can go read that whole thing.
And I hope you will. I think you'll find it to be really helpful. So as I was looking through it, there was something that I was really drawn to, and that was this whole idea of self-acceptance. So I kind of lump those things together: self-acceptance, self-identity, self-esteem.
Yeah.
And they're very different.
Right.
And there's actually a definition that this article shares. And by the way, this comes out of the Netherlands, and it's a therapist who's writing it.
Okay.
So, but she says, self-acceptance is an individual's acceptance of all of his or her attributes, positive or negative.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, I look at that and I think, am I able to accept the things that I see as negative? That was, maybe other people are in a much different place than me, but when I read that idea of accepting the things that are negative about me, that was hard for me to read.
You know, it seems like we've talked about this before, but you know, it's that dark and light thing. That wherever you've got some light, you're going to have some shadow.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's I guess as I get a little older and hopefully a little wiser, I start to see things that I did have a tendency to despise in myself, the shadow parts of myself. And realize that maybe part of the reason why they're shadowy is because there's a flip side that's really light. You know, there's a positive on the flip side of that negative, and I couldn't really despise and get rid of that negative. Now, that's not to say that I don't continue to work on things, but to despise it and to just wish it out of my life is to wish away lots of positives too, because they're connected.
Right. And you know, that idea of accepting the negative, and it does go into that further in the article about that doesn't necessarily mean you condone it. It doesn't mean that it's not something that maybe you need to work on. You know, if I have a tendency to be very curt with people and it turns them off, that's something I could work on.
Right.
You know, but to accept where I'm at right now and then to move forward, that's really a different mindset for me, at least.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that definition that they used. But another thing that I thought was very interesting is how they compare it to self-esteem.
Okay.
Okay. So in the article, it talks about how self-esteem refers specifically to how valuable or worthwhile we see ourselves.
Oh.
So it's placing a value judgment on these things about us.
Yeah, there's acceptance, saying, hey, this is part of me. That's the way it is. But then there's also that value thing where I say, you know, but some of it is, if I don't know.
Like, I may accept the fact that I would like to, I don't have a flat stomach after my wonderful kids.
But you wouldn't give up those kids.
I would not.
I
give
know
up
that.
Those kids. But so the idea is I can accept that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I place a judgment on that. Like, doesn't look as good as it used to.
Well, I'm placing a judgment on something that I don't know. It's hard when, it takes me to this headspace of thinking about what are the things that I can control, that I have some control over, what are the things that I don't. And, maybe sometimes we think we've got more control over certain things than we have. I know some folks who have, whatever it happens to be, they've had this lifelong thing that they're working on this thing about themselves, and they're so focused on it that it becomes like the driving factor of their life. And they never are able to change it, and you wonder if there's just a different kind of relationship that they could have with that thing, whatever it is.
Right. Right. Because, one of the things they mention about that is when you have full self-acceptance, if you can truly accept who you are, it lays the foundation then for positive self-esteem.
Oh, wow. Probably lays the foundation for working on the things you need to work on too, because
Right.
it's harder to work on stuff when I'm doing a lot of self-loathing. And in fact, I think, we were talking about people who have stuff to work on, the rude people, just people who are just really rude. I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but people who are just really rude, I'm not so sure that they're accepting of their own rudeness.
Mm-hmm.
I think they continue to be rude because they have some level of self-loathing about themselves being rude, and then they're just going to embrace it and just say, well, screw it, I'm just going to be,
Right.
but it's not, but truly saying, hey, I've got this, this tendency to be this way, maybe put you in a space to.
It feels like, to me, when you're not in a state of acceptance about this thing. So I'm going to go back to body issues.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're not in acceptance of this body you have, then you can almost feel a desperation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not where I want to be. People are noticing I'm not where I want to be, and maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't be eating this donut in front of these people because they're thinking
It
this
affects
thing.
everything you do, because you're thinking every time I take an action, somebody's thinking this about it because of this other thing that I'm.
Right. And so getting to that place where we accept ourselves as we are, to move towards actually valuing ourselves. I think that's a big step.
It takes so much energy, I think, to not accept yourself and to be devaluing yourself, because it really then drives all your thoughts, all your thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
There was another quote in here where it actually reminded me of someone.
Oh, okay.
There was a quote, and it says, "Can you look in the mirror and truly accept the unique, wonderful, work-in-progress person staring back at you?" Made me think of Stuart Smalley.
Oh, yeah, Stuart Smalley. Right, you remember him?
From Saturday
Classic
Night Live.
SNL.
Yes.
Awesome. Let's
I'm
throw
good.
that up on the screen.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
Doggone it.
And I used to just laugh
Yeah.
when I saw that. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, Stuart kind of had it figured out. I
Yeah.
mean, he had a lot of other issues.
Sure.
But to be able to look in the mirror and say that
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think when we get to a place where we are valuing that unique person that we are, everything we do becomes more valuable
Yeah.
too. People see that. Don't you love being with somebody who's just comfortable in their skin?
I do.
I just love that.
Yeah.
And something I want to continue to work on, because I want to be that person that people want to be around,
Can I mention one thing? Because I like to do devil's advocate stuff.
Yeah.
So like, is there a difference between the fake it till I make it? I'm gonna act like I'm super positive. And maybe Stuart Smalley was kind of making fun of that a little bit, versus and like deluding myself that I'm amazing as a cover up for the fact that I really don't think I'm amazing. I feel like sometimes that's what happens, the fake it till you make it kind of thing, where you're dealing with the external, and you're just saying, I'm going to wake up every morning, I'm going to look in the mirror, and I'm going to say I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm beautiful, and then that's going to somehow change the inside. But I don't. How do you do from the inside out instead of from the outside in? Maybe
it starts with looking at the things that you do appreciate. Like, what are the things
Sure.
that you do, that you don't really have any trouble accepting about who you are.
Yeah.
And then naming some of those things that I could make a list of things that I have trouble accepting about who I am.
Yeah.
And then looking at those and moving in the direction of, but most of the time I'm able to, like, I have an aunt who sends birthday cards and anniversary cards and writes all the time, and I want to be like that.
Sure.
And I'm never like that. I never get it done the way I want to. But I can look at that, and sometimes I do, and I think, why can't I be like that? I want to be that person who other people think about, that knows that I care about them.
Yeah.
And maybe, but that's how she does it. Maybe there's a way that I can do it.
I was going to say that's that comparative thing, because it's like if I'm looking in the mirror, okay, if I'm looking in the mirror and I'm saying, hey, I'm pretty good. I almost look like Brad Pitt today. Okay, then what it's all about, what it's seriously, I don't look almost like Brad Pitt, okay? I don't know what I look like, but if that's here's my point.
Okay.
If that's the way I'm going,
to laugh so hard.
Oh, yeah, right. If that's the way I'm going though, then it's all I'm not quite. I'm aiming for this, but I'm not quite. You know, and that could be external or it could be internal.
Right.
And I'm not really seeing myself. You know, I'm not seeing the unique. Getting back to our main, I'm not seeing the unique things that I am, because you know what, Brad Pitt will never be me.
Right.
And I bet he looks in the mirror every day and says, I'm not Scott. I'm sure he doesn't actually.
He might. If he knew you, he might.
I doubt it. But here's the point. I think there's a comparative thing, like you said about your aunt. You know, I mean, that's natural. You know, I see something I admire in someone. I long to learn from them and to be like that. But then, if I go too far in that direction, I start depreciating who I am, because I may be like your aunt, but in a different way. I exhibit that in a different way. And if I'm always and forever trying to be like this other person, I can't ever be like me and develop that, you know?
So true. So true. And the world already has one of my aunts.
That's right.
You know, they also need maybe a Sharla.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it's just good. And I think it applies in especially the education world too. Like, for example, right now with COVID, I think some teachers look at other teachers and go, gosh, they've got it so together. They figured this out. They figured out all these online tools they need to be using. They're connecting with their kids. Their kids want to get online with them. And it can make you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
But there are things about you that are very important and unique. Or when you're in the classroom, you know, it's easy to look down the hallway and say, I wish I was a little bit more like that teacher, you know, or students do that.
And I know we're coming from the inside out, but let's talk about just briefly from the other perspective, because when I was a brand new teacher, not quite brand new, but probably 4 years in, I had a mentor teacher who had a lot of issues. She had been teaching for a really long time. And what she would say to me when she would come in, she'd say, so how late were you up, Scott? I don't see how you can be a good English teacher unless you're up until 1 or 2 in the morning planning or grading papers, because that's what I do every night. And so what was happening is she was saying, you're not a good English teacher unless you're doing it the way I do it. Now, it was fine if she wants to stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning and like that's all she wants to do, then that's her business. I didn't see that it made her a very happy person or a very good English teacher. But I think we have to avoid doing that to each other as well. I mean, I have to avoid that comparative thing with myself. I have to value my own uniqueness, but I also have to not visit what I have discovered as being the greatest way to be whatever, and make sure that you're doing it because somehow I'm the one with experience, or I'm the one with, you know.
Right.
That's like mentoring 101. Don't make your mentee be you.
That's right. We've seen that before, haven't we?
Oh my gosh.
So one other thing I wanted to point out about the article, actually a couple things, is they give some examples, you know, of people moving through maybe what is a not so much about self-acceptance into becoming more self-accepting. For an example, a man going through a divorce who feels like a failure because of it might experience self-acceptance as acknowledging that he made some mistakes and that his marriage failed, but that does not make him a failure. Yeah. You know, I can't tell you we've talked about this before, but I had lived at a church camp for a long time. And I can't tell you how many kids I have sat with where they are pouring out their heart about, or maybe even in a classroom, about mistakes they've made. Yeah. And can I really be loved if I've done this? And my always go-to response is, you are not the things you do.
Right.
You are who you are. And the things you do, those are choices that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we make bad choices.
Yeah.
We all make bad choices. But that does not mean that you're a bad person.
And we learn from those bad choices.
That's right.
If we don't just press ourselves down for having made them, we can learn from them. We can say, oh, wow, that was not good. And next time I'm going to remember to think about this because I'm a person who's improving.
Right.
You know?
Right. So there are several examples of those kinds of things in the article. And then the other thing I would mention is if this is an area that you feel like you need some work on, maybe want to focus on it, there are a whole bunch of resources in this.
Wow.
That there are things you can print off that you can think about. There's things around self-talk and forgiveness of self. And so I would encourage you to take a look. There are lots of resources out there, but this is one in particular that I just found to be very helpful. And so, you know, there's probably I got through page 7 of it.
Oh, wow.
With what we've talked about. So there's another 20 some pages.
Yeah, don't print this up at the school, though, because you'll get in trouble for
Right.
too many copies.
Yeah.
At least I used to get in trouble for that.
Did you?
Yeah, I print too much.
So do you have
I do.
something you want to share with us? To
Yeah,
wrap things up?
we like to wrap up episodes with a quote to leave you with, and I really appreciate your take on uniqueness because when we look at this, we're always thinking. I think we tend to always be thinking like teachers, thinking about valuing the uniqueness in other people. And we've got to get into the habit of saying, you know what, whatever I'm thinking I need to do for my students, I need to make sure that I'm doing that also for myself. I'm doing that for my colleagues, that I'm advocating for us, that our school has that kind of culture that does that for us. Valuing uniqueness in our students, in ourselves, in each other, and all of that. And I think the quote that I picked up, I'll put it up there. It's by a pretty smart guy, Mr. Albert Einstein, and who was a very unique guy.
Yes.
And we talk about the physical, the external. He was unique externally.
Great hair.
You cannot miss Albert Einstein. The hair, the mustache,
Yes.
the tongue.
Yeah.
When that's just one picture, famous picture, but
Famous picture.
anyway.
Yeah.
But at the same time, on the inside, there was this uniqueness because he discovered things and set the course for physics, for a lot of things, theoretical physics and his theory of relativity and all of that just set the course for just a whole paradigm shift in the way we think. And that happened because he was unique and because he himself valued his own uniqueness. And then the rest of the planet got to benefit from that.
Yes,
So
huge benefit.
here's his quote. The person who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The person who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever seen before. Albert Einstein. So, and he uses that word alone, and alone seems like it has a negative sense, and it does in many cases. But I think the irony, or the paradox maybe in that, is that it's only through being really solid in my aloneness that I am really, really extra value in my togetherness, in my interconnectedness with everybody else. If I'm not solid in that aloneness, in my singular perspective, it's hard for me to have that uniqueness to give to the rest of the community.
Yes. Being able to look at yourself, see yourself as good and valuable exactly as you are, and bringing that into the world, huge gift. The world misses out when we don't bring who we are.
No one else can be you. So, well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode, one about uniqueness, and we hope that this has been valuable to you, and that you can look in that mirror like Stuart Smalley.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and
Doggone it.
people like
People like me. We like you too. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.